It's 4:19 p.m. this Thursday, September 30th, 2021. And I guess you could call this a special prophecy update or alert about things that are going on, incredible things and things that I've just discovered and seen in videos that I believe I was led to see these things. I believe they're signs. And I also want to talk about a dream, at least one dream here. And this relates to the La Palma, Canary Islands volcano that's currently erupting and what might be going on with that, what might happen, both from a prophetic standpoint and a scientific standpoint, and also my subjective thoughts about all of this. I don't know exactly where to start. I'm not prepared with anything except what's crammed into my head here and what I've seen in the past 2 or 3 days. And just today, the Kilauea volcano over in Hawaii suddenly erupted without warning, just all of a sudden. And there's like no reporting on it, just one Reuters report basically. And I saw footage on it, and right in the crater, right around the rim of it, in the inside, it's heating up and smoke coming out of it, all like flame or ember glowing around the edges and smoke in the middle, and also areas where it looks like it's breaking through with flames, not quite flames, but just embers glowing and some smoke. And I'm going to preface this quickly for those who don't know. Mostly everyone does that. Concerning that, let's start with that, the Hawaiian volcano quickly here. That it's a similar type of situation where it's been proposed and thought that if there's an eruption there, a part of the island at the bottom of Hawaii there, I forget which island it is, but anyway, the one with that volcano erupting now and going off, that same thing, a piece could break off and go into the ocean and send a tidal wave or tsunami toward the west coast of the United States. Now, that's conjecture. So everything I say here, I want to make sure I state that in proceeding along here. But it is very possible. And then switching over quickly to the La Palma situation, the Cumbre Vieja volcano going off now. A similar situation has been a concern and object of scientific research and conclusion that that's what could also happen there, and that's what this is all about. I'm sure we all know what's going on, that the bottom part of that island in La Palma could break off, go into the ocean, and send a tidal wave all through the Atlantic, all everywhere, every country. And we here in the U.S., that's what we're concerned about. So all eyes have been on that eruption going on with the possibility of that taking place. And if that's going to happen, that's what everyone is wondering about, whose attention is drawn to this. Now, I'll be jumping around in this. I'm trying to go quickly here to keep your attention. But there was a dream by a man who had Canary Island dream of it breaking off and causing a major tsunami, covering, flooding, and inundating and submerging states in the United States along the coast. Some all the whole states, some halfway or whatever more. And he had that dream, I don't know, 7 or 10 years ago. But Jesus appeared to him flying up. They flew above the Atlantic Ocean toward the Canary Islands, and in the dream he witnessed that breaking off, causing a huge wave to go across the ocean. And then he said Jesus accompanied him across the ocean toward the United States, looking at the East Coast, and that's what he saw. Most of the coastland of the United States there on the east and in the Gulf submerged. Again, some totally, the whole state, some halfway, and so on. Now, if you know me, I don't put a lot of stock, or I should say, I don't put speculation on dreams, and I don't give it more weight than, it deserves. What I mean is we should be level-headed about anything, dreams or what have you. Not that, dreams don't happen. Of course they do, and we're warned, and we're shown things. That's right in the Bible. But important, in that dream, he said that at the same time he saw um, the West Coast being affected by waves and being submerged, and large areas of land, of water forming inland up to Nevada and California breaking off, and a lot of area of water, an expanse like a little sea up in that area forming, a lot of land gone. So I was just listening to that video last night once more. I've heard it a few times the past few weeks, and I thought to myself, well, if that, if this is true, if he really saw this, and by the way, he said the timeline, he didn't know the year was toward the end of August, but he said he had no idea what the year was, but he said he clearly saw, he was told La Palma 3 times he heard when he was facing the island, and then he clearly heard August, and I think he got, specific dates, but obviously that passed and we're in September. But nonetheless, let me continue with the story. And again, I'm not saying that this dream, applies to this or not. I'm just telling the story here in relation to what's happening. So as I say, just earlier, I saw reports stating that suddenly Kilauea has erupted out of the blue, just started in a moment. So I think that's pretty interesting. That sort of answers the question, how could that happen simultaneously? Well, that's sort of adding speculation upon speculation, if anything is going to happen with La Palma, and then, trying to say, well, maybe what's happening in Kilauea, that might be part of it and happen at the same time. I don't know. But they have issued an eruption warning for Hawaii there, which means it's imminent. They expect it, as opposed to a watch where someone thinks that it's possible based on future, occurrences and events and progress, that would need to take place to qualify it and quantify it as being a warning. So there's an actual warning for the eruption there at that exact spot, that place where, again, this is also prophetic, because many have had prophetic dreams about it, but it's also scientific, and it's also, not just conjecture or theory, because that's what they've studied and that's what they say could happen because of that. Now, I already took a chunk of time, and I could be here for a long time, and maybe I will, so just hold on and sit back and, if you're interested, listen, because there's a lot I have to talk about, some amazing stuff and some things I found out and discovered, again, which I think I was led to by God. As more signs. I believe they're signs, not just coincidences, or, others can explain it away as whatever they want to, call these things. So where I want to start here is that I've seen in videos indications of, to me, what are continued sightings of angels above the La Cumbre Vieja volcano going off, and also planetary objects in the sky right above it very clearly, and also attempts to obfuscate or blot out those images. So to me, that would explain a lot, and I believe all along, I have for years here, concerning those objects close to the Earth and how they could affect the Earth, just like as it said they could, with earthquakes and volcanoes and affecting the poles and so on. So let me start by saying that a few nights ago I saw a video that someone had put up of the early morning hours over the volcano in the Canaries there. It was twilight, and I guess the title was something along the lines that, reddish pink glows seem to be coming from the sky onto the vapor and clouds. Again, it was early morning, so it wasn't very bright, but you could clearly see the pink and reddish, not only in the smoke, but up in the sky and the clouds, the whole atmosphere. And that's a telltale sign that those objects are there. And what I did was, I can't show it. I have images, but I just can't do it right now. Or anyway, I blew it up, and sure enough, through my, camera system app, you could pretty much clearly see round objects bunched together, many of them all in a tight band or system, right there above the volcano. By that I mean it appears very close, but they're not like right above it. So they're out in wherever they are beyond our atmosphere, apparently. If that's what they are, and I have to say it like that because for me being on here and speaking of these things, you know what I'm talking about. So I have to say if and maybe, and it's not speculation, all this type of thing, but that's how I have to word things. It's my opinion or whatever, you know, that it's my own conclusion. So no surprise to me that obvious deduction from that is that those objects, if that's what's happening, if that's what they are and are there, would be exerting force upon, you know, the Earth, and that could produce and augment and set off, incite increased volcanic activity, not only there but elsewhere in the world. So whether that has something to do with what might be going on in Hawaii right now also, I don't know. Or any other place on the globe that's experiencing, you know, many earthquakes and volcanoes. And the two seem to go hand in hand, absolutely. Now, I don't want to skip around too much, but I have to here just briefly. In a few videos back, I did that video about what I saw and believe is an angel flying right above the volcano, right through it to the other side of the screen. And again, don't take that snapshot that I took on that video as an indication. It just looks like a dot or a blob with whatever square around it. That's not, you know, exact at all, because I saw this object streak across, you know, from right to the left of the screen. You could see it yourself. I left the link, and its key signature that's what it was to me, an angel. And again, go back to my first video, scroll all the way down, the very first ones that I have left up there, and you'll see those videos by Igor Kostelek that I put up with look like angels flying around, and one swooped clearly right in front of the camera. You could totally see it, and swooped back up. So again, that's my conclusion, what I thought, what I think about. That's what they were in his videos, and what I saw and what I put up for that video to show going across the screen. Alright, fast forward to a little while ago, earlier today. I was watching the live feed from the Canary Islands of the volcano, and you know, without wasting a lot of time explaining how coincidental this all is to me, because I mean, that's live streaming 24 hours a day. I don't just sit there 24 hours a day and looking at the screen, you know, like this, waiting to see something, you know, that's extraordinary and unnatural. I just happened to be looking at that one point, you know, briefly, and I'll tell you what I saw. And that's why I think I can clearly say I've been led to these things, because the odds of seeing them at that exact time, and how the camera zoomed out at that moment, and it's, you know, most of the times it's zoomed in towards the volcano or zoomed right in. I mean, you know, the odds seem astronomical to me, and ridiculous to say it's just accident. But I was looking at the screen, and directly above the smoke of the volcano, which was rising, you know, windless, there wasn't wind, just gently rising way up high, I saw what looked like a bright star, or a large star, just sitting there right above in the sky. And it wasn't just a star, I'm telling you, because it was early in the morning, but you know, it was unnatural. It was very large and right above the volcano, just sitting there. And you know, the sky was getting bluish, so I mean, you could say it was a planet or whatever. I don't think it was a planet whatsoever. I think it was, you know, whether it was an angel or whatever. And I don't believe these things are so-called UFOs. I mean, I just want to state that for whoever, you know, whatever reason. So then I moved along the video a little ways, and I got up a little farther ahead, and there was another star-like object glowing to the right in the sky, you know, not really high up, but it could almost look parallel, you know, to the volcano, but it was in the sky. And anyway, it was stationary, but then it suddenly started to move pretty quickly off to the right and up. So I took a screenshot of it. I blew it up in my camera, and again, it's being obscured. However that's being done, I believe it's on purpose, not to show these things to us. But I think I'll put that image, up on this video so you could see it. Not in the video, but, you'll see it on the screen in my listed videos in my last, the latest video when you put it on. The thumbnail. I hate using repetitive words, but my point is you could clearly see it was a bright, very bright object there. And you can't make out from that, what it was, but I believe, again, it was an angel, and it, flew off. Okay, I continued watching the video, moving ahead, back and forth randomly, and I came upon what clearly looks like two objects, planetary objects, to the left of the volcano in the sky, just sitting there. Oh, before I talk about that and finish up with this quickly, getting back to that dot to the right that took off when I blew up that picture. Well, you could probably see it there, hopefully. To the left, there's several objects in a line, look like round planetary objects right there next to that bright light. So I found in videos like this that God, if they're angels, again, I believe that they are, if God's trying to point to certain things to show us in the sky, that he sends the angel, and the brightness seems to help us see, not shining directly on the objects, but somehow the camera angle or whatever seems to allow us to see objects around, what's happening there. So to me, again, to myself, I have no doubt that there's things going on up there, and I believe they're exerting force on what's going on down below on the earth. I'll just leave it at that. All right, so let me finish with this. So I saw those objects to the left. There wasn't glare or anything, and then there started to be bright glare. It seemed like the sun, but I don't believe it was the sun. I believe it was part of what they're used to blot out what's going on. Started showing brightly, very brightly on the screen from the right to the left, and came all the way over, like it took up half the screen. It was almost like a demarcation point. You could see bright, blurry light to the right, and then normal scenery of what's going on with the volcano to the left, like split the volcano in half. And then it moved over past it to the left even more, and it sort of tried to obscure those objects. Then I noticed that I got to a point where it suddenly went away. I mean suddenly, like within 2 seconds, like a light switch being turned on and off. You mean to tell me that's natural and that's the sun? I'm sorry, it's not. Again, it's my observation, what I think that's being used to cloak these items in the sky, these objects. And then it started to suddenly return again from right to left very brightly, and then it receded from left to right, basically off the screen. And what was left, I took a screenshot of that. There were two objects right there, planetary objects, round, plain as day. Well, at least to me they were, not really bright, not very noticeable, but I noticed it and I took a screenshot, and I have that also. It's obvious there's something there around objects. All right, that's the first major influence and important thing and sign, I believe, of what's happening here, which could be impacting both of these volcanoes. And I might add, around the world, they're popping off everywhere. Again, it seems to be a worldwide thing, something or some things, maybe, multiple reasons, forces that are producing this right now. So my personal opinion, I expect or foresee very much so that the Hawaiian volcano will start popping off. Who knows how far along that would go, and that would come about with that. So that's another major development here. All right, let's do another point here quickly. Speaking of earthquakes, and Dutch Sense, he's really the expert on this. He hasn't done a video in a couple of days updating what's happening, but his understanding is that, as I say again, there's a interconnectedness of all the fault lines around the earth, and they run into each other, and sort of like a voltage line, that it travels through. The energy keeps circling around, and as volcanoes pop off, they send out energy in specific directions, around those fault lines, around those lines, those conduits, which causes earthquakes in other areas along those fault lines. And Canaries are on those fault lines, where earthquakes have happened, and it seems to be a delay depending on how far away the place is from where the earthquake occurred and how large it was and the depth and so on. But what happens is the energy travels, and it could take time, sometimes days, sometimes even much longer, for it to traverse to those points. And earthquakes pop off in those areas almost expectedly, within a certain time frame. And almost, I don't know, from how he prognosticates it, can almost say, nearly the magnitude. Again, I'm not saying he's doing that, because I just want to keep this, kosher, and just say it's just conjecture. I just have to leave it like that. It's just my opinions again. So whatever pressure or force might be, impending there, and could also affect what's going on there, and also Hawaii and everywhere else in the world, to set off even stronger earthquakes and to cause even more serious eruptions in those volcanoes that are already erupting, or cause those that have been dormant to suddenly erupt. All right, enough said for this second about that. The third area would be CMEs, solar flares, filament projections, whatever you want to call them, that come from the sun. And I believe there were two of them, major ones. One was supposed to interact with the Earth today, and maybe there's another one very shortly that's on its tail, ready to do that. And so, if anything happens with that, again, I don't know. But again, these things are also known to antagonize and set off and foment and ignite volcanoes, earthquakes, and even weather. I didn't even mention that in all of this. That's also a part of this, weather things going on that could be affected by these forces. Now, on top of that, these others are saying that there's like 30 of these different other types of energy waves. I don't know where they come from. It's a different type of thing, source, intergalactic, that's, near the Earth, ready to come here. I don't know again, but there's supposedly like 30 of them in a row. So, and I don't know, but what there's these particular people, or at least one, are saying that they're very, very strong. And again, they could produce effects upon the Earth like I'm talking about here. And, these influences don't have to just sort of like hit. Like, it's not like all of a sudden, something's going to happen. They can build up, or they could build up energy, or they could, it's like hitting a hammer, or a sledgehammer on concrete. You have to keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and finally it breaks. You know what I'm saying? After a certain amount of attempts. And so there's been swarms going off in Hawaii, and continued swarms with La Palma. And my point is, they're like theoretically little sledgehammers or big sledgehammers, depending on the size of the earthquakes or the magma movement itself that is being displaced by whatever force or means that may be occurring, that below the surface that we're not aware of, where it's being nudged, and the ground is loosening, and lava or whatever seawater is getting pumped into those veins, and they're trying to be forced out, and they're being let out little by little because there's more room for them, and the pressure is able to jet up and break through. Well, I see that happening at La Palma. Those vents, more and more vents are opening right close to each other. It looks like there's tremendous force down there, and it's trying to be vented out in every which way but loose that it could go. And eventually, just in its natural way, if it kept going like that, it seems like it would continue to exert force and eruption and fracture and, land breaking off, where it's going to erode, those vents and open them more and more to try to, break that whole area open. And I believe that that's possible. What's going to happen then, again, complicate that and top that off with other things going on. If there were a big or bigger earthquake there, and that would be a real jarring that would loosen what's ever down there and allow, escape of the pressure even more in the magma and whatever. I was listening to Mary Greeley video maybe yesterday. She explained some of these things, that the island of La Palma there, it's basically lava and ash. That's all it is, like multi-layered, intermittent, or like, if someone, makes a cake, you know what I'm saying? There's a layer of cake, and then they put pudding in the middle, then they put another layer, then they put frosting, then they continue. So there's layers just of that, and it's pretty loose. That's the whole island that's composed of. So it's not like on steady, ground, rock, like we know in our country or other countries of the earth, just, stable in that way beneath us. It's all, past volcanic eruptions layered upon one another, layered and layered, and it's very fragile, and it's easy, and it cracks off easily. So I'm not fear-mongering by saying this. I'm saying a fact. The island itself, composed of this mixture, is about 2.5 miles beneath the surface of the ocean. So 2.5 miles of this giant volcano, call it that, La Palma, is beneath the ocean. It's 2.5 miles deep, put it that way. So whatever breaks off, is going to have a long ride. And the extended land mass area from the sea that we see as the island is as high as about 1.5 miles high above sea level. So do the math. I guess it's like about 4 miles total land mass from bottom of the ocean to the tip pinnacle peak of any mountainous areas in that island. So my caveat preemptor here is, again, nothing may happen there. Nothing may happen with Hawaii. It's all conjecture. I'm just being subjectively stating things, telling you facts, and also from a prophetic standpoint, subjectively also my feelings. So that's all mixed into the mixture here, into the cake. So while one may be reporting that everything is normal, there's nothing extraordinary going on in the Canary there in La Palma, that is truth. It's not the total truth based on any possibilities, if you know what I mean. Let's take, I'm not going to give a big example. Well, you know what I mean, that anything could happen in any situation suddenly. So 1 minute things could be rosy-cozy, and as it was in the days of Noah, everyone eating and drinking out, having a good time in the sun, thinking, it's under control, we'll just watch and see. And that's the truth too. So you could only take the facts and take what you see and what you hear and the science and everything, what you feel, dreams, the whole bag, and put them all together. And, think for yourself what you feel about anything, any situation like this, and what the possibilities are. So, a possibility only becomes fact when it actually occurs. But then in retrospect, you could say it wasn't just, speculation per se, but it was warranted. Your concern and your conclusions, were therefore warranted if something does happen major. And I did a video, whichever one it was, about the rainbow prisms that appeared on my wall. Whether that was actually some kind of sign or not, let me just explain quickly here. We know that a rainbow represents in the Bible the flood, a rainbow, the flood, those colors. Noah, the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah. People unaware of anything ready to happen, and destruction came and took them all away. Not us. We're going to be raptured. And again, that's also a reference of Jesus' own words, as it was in the day of Noah. And he explained people would be doing this and that, going about normally, and he would take, one would be taken, one would be left. He will take them, take us in that type of situation. Then there would be judgment and destruction after that. So that's what those prisms could represent, at least to me, of them appearing there. And I didn't make a cross out of that rope. That was not my intent. It was in a knot. I was using it for something else, and I was cleaning, and I saw it, and I moved it out of the way, and I said, oh, there's a nail on the wall. Let me put it there so I remember, to take it, not throw it away, and so I'll use it again. But when I put it up there, it looked like a cross. So I said, that's strange. So I left it there. It's been sitting there for months. So it was a cross by accident, and these prisms by accident formed right there on that wall at the exact height and everything. It's almost impossible to try to duplicate that. And again, one was right on the cross and one was to the right of the cross, as it was in the days of Noah, the rainbow, the flood. Then I believe, again, I was led to those videos about what was in the sky, planetary, stellar objects, and those dots and those flying objects right there. All right, so anyway, as I conclude here, just want to say that about 2 nights ago I did a video like this, and I scrapped it. I just didn't feel too good about it, so I said, and I waited, and then last night, actually early in the morning, I sat down trying to do a video like this, and it just, I didn't, things didn't, the lighting and everything else, I was uncomfortable for a long time. I just couldn't even get situated doing it, and it was late. I said, oh, forget it. Let me just wait. So today, earlier, I came across those other sightings in the sky, so I was able to now tell you about them also. So whatever the timing of that is better that it happened this way. Now, the way that's venting in La Cumbre volcano, it seems like there's tremendous pressure down there. There's so many vents popping up right there, right around it, all around that, like it just wants to just blow out, I believe that's what's going to occur. But once more, as terrible as it could be if that happened there or anywhere else, that's not the main issue, because the main issue is whether the land would be stable or not, to stay in its place. That's the main concern and issue. So I only mentioned, as I said, that one person's dream. I put stock in dreams, I just listen to them, all right, But that's pretty interesting, of the dream he had years ago, specifically of the Canary Islands and land breaking off and flooding of the coast, of the eastern coast. And also, oddly, as I said, he had mentioned the west coast, and I said, well, that's strange. So again, the timing of this, I waited 2 days, this and that, to do this video. I scrapped it, and now I just heard, like a few hours ago, that the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii is erupting. It's a warning. It's not just a watch. It's a warning. It's expected, is what that means. So again, that's interesting, because he, in his dream, at the same time, saw the west coast being inundated by water just as much, and states breaking off and going into the ocean and so forth, and seas forming right up there through that area. And for decades, I've had, and I still occasionally do, I've had wave dreams, giant waves or tsunamis or walls of water. Many times they were stationary. And also, not to mention, I believe Yellowstone, there's been some swarms up there too. I don't know if it was someone's dream I just heard about, or speculation, or what have you. I think it was with these 30 waves supposedly coming in one after another to be very, very powerful. It's being said that could very much set that off too, set the volcano off up there. So it doesn't seem unlikely to me, consider what's going on right now. So that might be a development too here in the next, days and weeks. I've noticed this for many years, but last night again, the sky was very pinkish, reddish color on the clouds. That's been going on for a long, long time. It's not new, but I thought I'd just mention that. I also saw another video an hour or so ago. The person showed footage from the volcano again, from I guess the live feed of it looked like two white objects streaking from left to right across the screen. It was a close-up. I tried to zoom in on it and magnify it, but it was hard to see, though from my experience in having done this a lot of times with those other videos and putting it on my camera system here and just keeping the snapshots, that those objects, they were angels, the ones I saw. Whether this was or not, it was said to be a UFO. Well, anyway, because they go so fast close up, it makes it look like there's like two of them, but it's really going so fast that it's creating like a false mirage image before your eyes, like it's two streaks. Sort of like when you put a fan on, or you see a fan in your car going, that it almost can look like it's staying still on the other end of this idea. So there's an illusion created by the speed of something. All right, I guess that concludes things for now. There's going to be some things probably dead on right here now continuing to happen. So I guess I just want to close here, since this is a prophecy channel. At least it was originally. Then I got into a lot of teaching and everything, and sort of away from a lot of the dreams and visions type things, which, really, to be honest, has turned me off, especially with the self-righteous out there putting up these videos, false gospels, but yet they're doing rapture videos and, etc. All right, I'm getting off of the platform here at my soapbox, but anyway, this is a pre-tribulation rapture video. We're not in the tribulation. I'll say it again. We're not in the tribulation. We're not appointed to wrath. Jesus is going to return and take us out of here. And I believe these are clearly the signs that that's ready to take place, And that's my whole point. And I'll close on the best point that I really should have said from the beginning, whether I mentioned it in the last or previous video. Okay, it was once more in the past months or whatever, from time to time I've been having a very special feeling, very momentous feeling, and I believe it has to do with the rapture. Like the feeling is in the air, if you've heard that expression, which I'm sure you have. That's what I felt. Just an amazing upbeat type of thing coming out of nowhere, special, a sense of hope and imminency, and of, a specialness of not being here very much longer. As a matter of fact, ending this video, this is very strange. Not strange, but telltale, has meaning, I think. I turned the video off for a few seconds after I just said that, and welling within me, bubbling up, is the same good feeling, like I think I'm being, spoken to again. God's Spirit is bringing that to me, and that's what's happening. I'm not expressing this very well, but you get the idea what I mean. God's Spirit came upon me right this second at the end of this video. We're leaving, okay? That's what he wants me to tell you. I feel that going through me right this second. Just be of good cheer and rejoice and be waiting, because he's returning. I think that's what he wants me to tell you. I just feel that right this second going right through me in such a, rejoice. That's the word, rejoice, okay? All right, amen. I might be back to update these things, and I expect there to be developments continuing from this point on. All right. I'll talk to you later. God bless you.